paid to sell, and everybody can do it. There are specific selling techniques you can use that will allow you, no matter who you are, to master it.
Michael Portis coached more than 20,000 business owners in the art of selling and is the best-selling author of The Contrarian Effect, Why It Pays to Take Typical Sales Advice and Do the Opposite.
All right, Michael, I'm watching at home. I say I've never sold before. I don't think I can be a good salesperson. You got 3 things that proves them wrong.
3 things. Number 1, if you can make commitments and fulfill commitments, you can sell. Number 2, if you can learn how to tell good stories, you can sell. And number 3, if you can do all of this while telling the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, you can sell.
Kendra, how do you weave storytelling into selling?
All I do is storytell. I mean, I think, you know, everything, when I meet a customer right away, the first thing I do is tell them about myself, my family. I ask about them, and it becomes, they're not pitching them. You're just talking to them.
Donna, how much of it, that, you know, there's a fine line between when you sell being that, like, slick personality, hey, how's the wife, how the kids, how you doing, versus weaving humanity stuff in but staying focused?
Well, I mean, I think you have to think about what you're communicating. I mean, what is it that you have to sell? And I think it's a really fine line, and you balance the information you have to impart and why you want people to buy what you have, whether that's you or a product, at the same time forming some sort of peripheral relationship around who you are as individuals.
Michael, you talk about radical transparency.
Radical transparency. Typical way of selling is only give them as much information as they need to make the sale, right? This day and age doesn't go. I can go onto Google and I can find out everything that, probably more about you than you even know about you on Google, right? So radical transparency. In fact, show your whole sales cycle. Show everything. Show the flaws, show what works, show everything.
And you also talk about the velvet rope principle.
Yeah, the red velvet rope policy. The idea here is typical advice is, you know, sell to anyone, anytime, or, you know, it's a numbers game, right? Typical advice, you've heard that. But how about creating a red velvet rope policy so that you only sell to the people with whom you do your best work, the people that energize and inspire you and allow you to be on your game all the time?
Kendra, what do you do before you go in to close a deal? What's your main before you're going into the pitch?
Yeah, you've got to know who you're talking to. And so now we do have this wonderful thing called Google. You can learn a lot about not just the company, but about the person who's going to make the decision. And you can really get to know them and go in with that information so you can really get to know them on a personal level.
Okay, is there a double-edged, I'm going to ask both of you guys this, about information, about not seeming stalkerish? When I have someone who comes in to see me to sell me something, on the one hand, I want them to know who I am. But if they start saying, oh, and that, I saw that picture of you in the Speedo in 1969.
You know, somebody comes in, they're like, oh, you were born in Kenosha, Wisconsin, and I'm like, security, you know, it's scary. So you have to go in and kind of get the conversation moving by going, I notice your Southern accent. I'm from the South. You must be, oh, you're from Georgia. Oh, nice. You know, and you get it going without saying you're from Wichita and you live on Willow Street. You know, you get to do it in a way.
That?
Okay, but I just want to say a second. Is there a flip side to doing that, in that sometimes is there a smart sell that's what I'll call the no BS sell?
Right.
I know you're very busy. I know you don't have a lot of time, and basically we're not going to do any small talk, let's get right to it. Or does that just put up a wall?
If you have permission. If you're granted the permission to do that, yes. But if that is your MO, if that is how you operate all the time, that's not good.
Okay, there are a lot of techniques to selling, but to find out what really works, you got to talk to the guy doing the buying.
Guy Kawasaki is the Managing Director of Garage Technology Ventures and the ultimate decision maker for new business owners trying to make the sale of a lifetime.
All right, Guy, I'm coming in to sell. You're buying. What's the most important thing, what I do and how I present myself?
Well, the most important thing is you come in with something that's worth buying. Many of the previous speakers also said this, but, you know, as a venture capitalist, we make these decisions involving millions of dollars based on a PowerPoint presentation. And we don't have this physical thing to look at, this physical thing to make a decision. It's PowerPoint. It's you standing up there. And we want things that we think will make us hundreds of millions of dollars.
But along those lines, before you get into it, you've got a very important 30-second rule to get your attention.
Well, yes, many times entrepreneurs come into a venture capital firm and they spend the first 15 minutes explaining their life story. You know, really, I could care less about your life story until I hear what you have to sell. So in the first 30 seconds, give us what you do. Are you an enterprise software company? Are you a social network? Are you a new kind of hardware box? What the hell do you do?
But Lisa, is that different? And Michael, is that different from what we've been saying? Get them in there, warm them up a little bit, a little hoochie coochie, versus what Guy's saying, no, cut that out. just get right to it?
Well, I think a lot of it depends on the medium and who you're talking to. You know, in my business, I'm not talking to somebody in person, so I can't sit there and ask about your life and your kids because I'm seeing you through a camera.
Yeah.
But I am telling the story of the person who's on with me, the guest who's on with me, the great idea that's on with me. And I am keeping it simple. In that first 30 seconds, as he's talking about, I'm giving him the quick of why they should listen to this person, bringing them in, and then focusing on the product.
Yeah. Guy, I couldn't agree with you more. I know me, and I'm an ADD. When I'm on the buy side, you better very quickly also recognize, I know, Mr. Deutsch, you're very busy. I'm not going to take up a lot of your time. That's a very important thing. You have a 10-20-30 rule. What does that mean?
Yes. The 10-20-30 rule is the rule of pitching using PowerPoint. Basically, my theory is that you should have no more than 10 slides. You should be able to give these 10 slides in 20 minutes, and there should be no font smaller than 30 points, i.e. a big font. And if most entrepreneurs would just follow the 10-20-30 rule, they'd be better than the bulk of what we see.
Guy, how is it important for somebody to be asking for the order at the end? There's a lot of, people sell and they don't know how to close. What do you want to hear from a seller at the end of the meeting?
Well, in my circumstance, you don't make a decision in real time. Yes, I'm going to invest $1 million in your company. It happens over the course of several months. So in the venture capital game, what you're looking for is not to be eliminated as opposed to be accepted. So the next step after a pitch to a venture capitalist is due diligence. I want to find out more about you as opposed to here's the purchase order, here's the check, where do I mail it? That's not how my game is played.
Donna, tell me about, okay, Mike, you want to jump in, the close.
Yeah. Winston Churchill once said, only one link in the chain of destiny can be handled at a time. And if you try to go too fast through that chain, it's going to be a train wreck. So you got to know what the steps are in that process, and you've got to follow that to build trust over time.
But how, Donna, Kendra, how do I know at the end of a meeting to are people afraid to kind of ask for the order? What, do you leave it open-ended? Do you say, I need to know now?
Well, I think it's two things. I actually had a boss early in my career say the sale starts the minute you walk out the door, which implies that there's a lot of work that goes into the process as opposed to that initial interaction. But the other thing I would say is that it's perfectly reasonable to say, is this something that might interest you? So you're asking the question, you've got to get an answer, yes or no, and then you just deal with it.
What's your end of meeting strategy?
I'm all about getting some type of real specific commitment. Okay, great. Why don't you look this over and I'll give you a call on Monday, and not just Monday, but how about 2 o'clock on Monday? Be very specific, because then that gives you another opportunity.
Okay, here the playbook plays. First off, really knowing someone starts with knowing their story. Before the sale, get to know your customer, but do not oversell. Make the most of your first 30 seconds. Explain what you're doing there. And don't be afraid to ask for a commitment. Go for it. Put that stake in the ground. One big idea straight ahead.
You can master the most powerful force on earth, the power of persuasion.
People make decisions about you before you even open your mouth.
What are 5 secrets to selling Donny used to make Deutsch Inc. one of the top ad agencies in the world? The master of the pitch is blogging about the art of selling at bigidea.cnbc.com.